Welcome to the Working with Subject Matter Experts podcast. If you're the lucky person responsible for keeping your business profitable into the future, you need to be a learning organization. So here at the Working with Subject Matter Experts podcast, we talk about managing organizational knowledge to keep your business strong. I'm your co-host, Nathan Eckel, and we are here with the amazing Peggy Salvatore. Peggy, how you doing?
Gee, I couldn't be doing any better, Nathan, because that is such an amazing introduction.
Well, hey, it's an amazing book. I wish I would have wrote your book instead of the book that I wrote.
I'm glad you wrote your book, because if you hadn't written your book, I would not have written my book.
Well, I guess so. Well,
so I guess we're having this like evil twin thing going on here.
I guess so, but it's just wonderful. And this is an aside for all of you listening to this, but I mean, it's just beautiful how Peggy wrote the book that I was trying to write when I wrote a book that is a little bit more from an empathy side, designing a mechanism for designers and subject matter experts to actually work together in a productive way, in an onboarded way, in a friendly way. And so I guess maybe there were some foundational things that needed to be said, but I just love this book, Finding Your SMEs, and the one before that, Working with SMEs, that Peggy, you have written. So kudos to you.
Thanks. Well, the way I see our approach to this is the left brain, right brain approach to working with subject matter experts, which is, I did a lot of charts and graphs and checklists and you talk about the soft, fuzzy people stuff. And so together, I think we've kind of figured out this issue. So there are a lot of pieces. You're working with people when you're working with subject matter experts, and you talk a lot about the people skills and the soft skills side of it's excellent. Well,
that's true, and actually, because you've written your book that just puts all of these pieces in order and shows people how to filter and get that organizational knowledge out, I'm actually able to look back at the book that I wrote that's fuzzy, it's touchy-feely, it's from the empathy side, and I've actually realized, just like you said, people are people, and no matter what, we're not going to be able to get along in the sandbox unless we have good leadership and communication skills. So you're right, there's a need for both. So anyway, that was a little digression for all of you listening at home or at work or in the car. Today's going to be a really fun podcast because we're talking more about what Peggy calls the secret sauce, and we've dipped into the idea of secret sauce and what makes your company, what makes your entity, what makes your organization unique. It's really the secret sauce. So what we're going to talk about today is just a couple of scenarios, a couple of case studies, a couple of avatars that you might be able to figure out what this might be based on. And we're not saying it's based on anything or not based on anything, but you have a real fun story illustrating these two different cultures, these two different strengths, these two different organizations and their secret sauce on page 24 of the book, Working with SMEs. Finding Your SMEs. You talk about one company that you call Big Mart, and then Peggy, you talk about another company that you call Nature's Best Foods. So, I mean, it's a fun example. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I use the examples to show that it's not always obvious what your competitive advantage is. And that's why you need to put your organization through a series of questions and exercises to determine what it is that makes you special, what's your competitive advantage, why do customers come to you. And it is not only, it is an industry specific, and it is not even company specific. So the two examples are this. You can have Big Mart, and you can also have Nature's Best Foods, and both of them may be grocery stores. And that may be where their similarity ends. So, for example, people who shop at Big Mart may just want an absolute bottom dollar, lowest cost, get in and get out, help yourself approach, minimalist approach to grocery shopping. Nothing fancy, rattly little carts with wheels that don't quite line up and and they knocking other shoppers aside to get the last whatever it is on sale. And that's all fine with the people who shop there because they're about the price. And then you go to Nature's Best Foods, and it is the exact opposite. It attracts a completely different shopper. This shopper is shopping and looking for an experience. When they go to the store, they want to feel good. They want to feel good about themselves. They want to feel good about the food they're buying. They want to be entertained. They want to feel pampered. So when they walk into the store, they may have very nice, modern, smooth carts, little places for the babies, little teething rings that have been sanitized, flowers, little cakes all over, butchers tending to your every whim, people in nice little grocer aprons showing up and saying, have you found everything you're looking for? It's a wonderful experience. And often the food items are 2, 3, and 4 times what they cost at Big Mart. You're paying for the experience. So when you look at what's your secret sauce, they are in the same industry. They are essentially on paper doing the same thing. They're selling groceries, but that is where the similarity ends. They are 2 completely different businesses. And so when you're looking at what's their secret sauce, Big Mart, pretty simple. It's price. And all you want to do when you go in and figure out what do we really need to preserve the integrity of this company and the way we run this company, we need to find out what are our negotiating tactics. How do we manage to drive our vendors down to their absolute bottom dollar price? And believe me, I've heard stories about vendors who negotiate with companies like Big Mart who have left with nothing but the lint in their pockets when they leave headquarters. When they walk into headquarters to negotiate with Big Mart executives, they are led into a Spartan room with chairs left over from the 8th grade middle school down the street. I mean, nobody's treating you very nicely, and they're letting you know by the way they receive you, by the room you're negotiating in, that they're not kidding. You're leaving with virtually no margin. So why would a vendor even do business with a company like this? Well, you have great market share. They may have, you probably can't match market share like this, like Big Mart has. So there'd be some inducement to negotiate. But bottom line is, if you're looking at Big Mart, you wonder what's your secret sauce. You wonder why people keep coming back to you. It's low price. What you want to preserve is what are your negotiating tactics. It's the most important thing you need to preserve about that organization. But when you're looking at Nature's Best Foods, there are a lot of moving parts here. They're able to get a premium price, but where are they buying their fish? What are they looking for in their florists? And who's their interior designer? You're looking for these things. You need to preserve the integrity of the shopping experience that people are paying for. So, same industry, same business, completely different business models, completely different competitive advantages, and what you're looking to preserve are 2 very different sets of knowledge. That's why you can't look at your business or your industry and decide, oh, well, this is what we need to preserve. Not necessarily so. You need to dig down and look at why do your customers come to you? That's what you're looking to preserve.
So that's a lot to unpack, and in a future podcast episode, I think what we're going to do is just return to this, because I'm just hearing. Before I get into what I'm hearing, I mean, the point to reiterate your point is to find out really what is special, what's the unique perspective, what's your unfair advantage, as they say in lean theory. What is it that really needs to be preserved about your company to move it forward, that people love, that customers love, that's making it vital to your survival? Make sure you're capturing that. That's your point, correct?
Absolutely. That is my point, yes. So
in the future, we're going to go back into the binary, because we're talking, I mean, I heard so many different either this or that type of things in these 2 contrasting examples. And I just think it's a wonderful exercise, because we have commodities and then we have other industries or niches in that industry that are just specialties that really cater to people. And there are so many different ways to skin that cat, frankly. But we're out of time. on the Working with Subject Matter Experts podcast. So I want to thank you, Peggy, and I want to thank all of you listening at the work, in the car, listening to this episode. Join us next time, because we're going to be talking about assumptions and what they do to you and me. You might have heard that phrase before, but we're going to talk about that in the next podcast. Until then, we'll see you on the next one.